Hello everyone, my name is Olivia and welcome to my first book haul of 2022. I have really curbed my book buying habits and I've gotten very selective with the books that I want to add to my collection, so this is why my book haul is so late in the year. So grab your preferred drink, I'm having an iced coffee, and sit down with me so we can discuss some of the books that I have recently acquired. So let's start with the books that I have already read from this pile, and one is Tales from the Cafe. This is the sequel to Before the Coffee Gets Cold, one of my favorite translated fictions. And this is the companion novel to it. It's not necessarily a sequel. I feel like if you wanted to read this by yourself, you definitely can. So this follows a magical cafe where patrons are able to time travel to any time period that they want, but the only catch is they have to return back to the present before their coffee gets cold. So this, like Before the Coffee Gets Cold, follows 4 other patrons. We have best friend, mother and son, lovers, and married couple. So we follow these different patrons as they use this time traveling cafe in order to gain some closure, go back to the past to fix a mistake, or just to say goodbye to a loved one. And it is just such a beautiful story. It is full of so much heart and warmth, and it just is the most comforting story that I have read. I greatly enjoyed Before the Coffee Gets Cold. I liked this a little bit less because I feel like it didn't have as much heart to it, but I still really enjoyed it nonetheless, and the cover is also beautiful. The next book that I have also already read that I recently acquired was The Red Dragon. Red Dragon by Thomas Harris is the first book in the Hannibal Lecter series because I have been rewatching Hannibal and I wanted to get into the books, and I thought, why not just dive into it without thinking too much about it. I was very much intimidated by the series because I thought that it would be too dense and boring and bogged down for me to read, but I had such a great time with Red Dragon. It was so immersive and fun to read as a fan of Hannibal because I remembered certain dialogue pieces that were included in the show that are directly from the book, and I liked comparing and contrasting the book from the show. I definitely do prefer the show to the book, but I had such a great time with it, and I also was just happy to be able to see what inspired the show Hannibal, and it was a great time. I forgot to turn my little lights on, so now they're on, and now they're cute, and now let's continue with the book haul. If I'm going to talk about Red Dragon, I'm going to mention the next book in the series that I got, and it is Silence of the Lambs. The Silence of the Lambs is such an iconic movie that a lot of people really enjoy, and a lot of people find that to be like their version of Hannibal. I greatly enjoyed Silence of the Lambs, so I'm excited to continue with the Hannibal Lecter series and see how Hannibal Lecter deals with Clarice and their relationship, because I know that that relationship greatly inspired Hannibal's relationship with Will in the show. So I'm very excited to get into this. I hope I can get into this soon because I don't want to forget too much about Red Dragon, but this is very niche. I know a lot of people don't really care, but I wanted to include it because I wanted to share that I'm reading the Hannibal Lecter series, and I really hope I enjoy it. But I think if I enjoyed the Red Dragon as much as I did, then I'm definitely going to love the Silence of the Lambs because this seems to be a fan favorite. Now let me show you a book that I am actually currently reading. I'm about 1/3 of the way through, and it is Untamed by Glennon Doyle. This is a book that I saw on TikTok, and I've seen it all over Instagram, I've seen it all over Twitter, and I did not pick it up until I saw a TikTok about it, and it's because I don't enjoy the cover. I think the cover is very lackluster, even though it's very colorful and vibrant. I just think that it doesn't capture the essence of what this story is about. I don't like it, but I saw a TikTok about Untamed and someone read a passage from it, and it was discussing how women are taught to be people pleasers from an early age in childhood and how that stays consistent throughout their whole entire life, and this kind of breaks the barriers of what it's like to be a people pleaser and what it's like to actually live your life for yourself as a woman. I have been highlighting this novel backwards and forwards. There are so many passages that I'm just like, yes, absolutely, I totally agree. I wish someone had said this sooner. I wish I had learned this lesson sooner, and I am just so grateful for this nonfiction because I'm learning so much about how I can better take care of myself before taking care of others, and how I can better be myself in society rather than trying to fit myself into a mold of each situation to please other people around me. Untamed is honestly one of my new favorite nonfictions, and I'm only 1/3 of the way through. It is so absolutely fantastic, and I think if you also are like me and are like way too polite to every single person who does not deserve to be treated with such kindness if they're mean to you, or if you're a person who is a chronic people pleaser, I would highly recommend this book because this reminds you that you are living one life and you have to live your life for yourself. You have to put yourself first. You have to be your most authentic self yourself, and this is just such a great reminder for that. Absolutely fantastic. Cannot wait to finish it. It is so good. It's fantastic. Another book that I'm planning to read soon is Wild and Wicked Things by Francesca May. This is pitched to me by the publisher as a Great Gatsby retelling, but it is sapphic, witchy, and fantastical. And that's all I needed to hear to be like, yes, send it my way. I need it in my life. On Goodreads, it says, in the aftermath of World War I, a naive woman is swept into a glittering world filled with dark magic, romance, and murder in this lush and decadent debut. I am so excited about this book. I think it's going to be right up my alley. This is actually going to be my first book centered around witches because I don't usually want to read about that because I'm not the biggest fantasy type of person, but I'm so excited for this story because it has Great Gatsby vibes, because it's centered around a mysterious island that the main character goes to. I think it's going to be right up my alley and I am excited to dive into it. Then I have 3 books that Matt from my Discord server sent my way because he thought that it would be right up my alley, and these books seem like they are the perfect fit for me, and I am just so grateful that he sent them my way. So thank you so much to Matt for sending these books to me. So the first book that he sent me was actually off of my book wish list, and it is The Idiot. This is a book that I've seen all over TikTok in those hot girl reading lists where they're usually centered around women who are going through a transitional moment, and they are usually dealing with mental health issues, their family, their jobs, or going through college. And this is a book that doesn't necessarily have a plot. It just follows our main character, who is a Turkish student in Harvard. It is said to be witty, and it says that it dramatizes the uncertainty of life on the cusp of adulthood. And I just love stories that explore university, especially the year of university where you were just about to graduate and you were starting to realize that this idealized world that you were living in, which is full of friendships and full of new opportunities and classes and knowledge, is now coming to an end, and now you're going to enter into the quote-unquote real world where you're going to have to be an adult and you have to form your own path in life and find your set career and just your stability. I'm very excited to read this because it follows a Turkish student who is the daughter of Turkish immigrants. So I'm curious to see how that is explored in this book and how the university experience is different because you are a child of immigrants, and I think it's going to be a very good exploration. Another novel that Matt sent my way that was actually not on my radar and I didn't know anything about it, but he sent my way because he thought that it would be right up my alley, is called Optic Nerve. This is a piece of translated fiction, which makes me so happy because I'm always looking for translated fiction to add to my shelves. And this says that it is a piece of autofiction about a woman who delivers pithy assessments of world-class painters along with glimpses of her life, braiding two into an illuminating whole. So our main character is obsessed with art, and she kind of talks about her life through the stages of different artists that she is obsessed with and different artists that inspire her. And I love art museums. It's one of my things that I always share on Instagram. When I go to different museums, I always post photos about them, and I love this cover because it reminds me of when I am wandering through the Met. I think I'm really going to love this novel because it is about a Latina who is obsessed with art, and I think it's just right up my alley, and I think I'm going to really love it. So thank you so much to Matt for sending this my way as well. And the last book that Matt sent my way was Excellent Women by Barbara Pyme. This is another novel that I would not have known about if Matt hadn't sent it my way, and it says that it is Barbara Pyme's richest and most amusing high comedies. I have no idea what this book is about, and one of my favorite things about Penguin classic novels is that the synopsis doesn't tell you anything about the story. It's always so vague in such a way where, like, if you don't know anything about the story, like if someone hasn't given you the synopsis, you're going into the story without knowing a single thing. And I feel like that's what it's going to be like when I pick up this novel. So I'm really happy that I'm able to dive into it without having anyone influence my opinions and just dive into a new classic fiction that isn't too long as well. Very grateful that it's not too long. I have 2 books left in the book haul, so let's get into it. One was sent to me by Berkeley, so thank you so much to them, and it is Our Last Days in Barcelona by Chanel Cleaton. Chanel Cleaton is one of my favorite authors of all time. She wrote Next Year in Havana, my favorite book. ever. And like Next Year in Havana, this follows two different timelines. In Barcelona in 1964, we follow Isabel, who goes to Spain in search of her sister, Beatrice. It says that she gets thrust into a world of espionage because of her sister, but she also is learning family secrets as well. Then in Barcelona in 1936, we follow Alicia, who arrives after a difficult voyage from Cuba. And it says that Alicia's past comes to haunt her as she is unexpectedly reunited with the man who once held her heart. My mom already read this book because the moment I got it in the mail, she was like, I have to read it, and she absolutely loved it. She said it was so good, it was so gripping. She read it in like 2 days, which she always seems to do for Chanel Clayton's books, and I am so happy that I have this in my hands. I am always so excited that Chanel Clayton is coming out with more books centered around Cuban women, and I just love every single one that she has put out. It always gives me another piece of representation that I have been looking for my whole entire life, and I'm just so grateful to have her as an author, as one of my favorite authors, and I cannot wait to dive into this soon. And the last book that I have to show you for this book haul is Ballad and Dagger by Daniel Jose Older. Daniel Jose Older is also another Cuban author who I love and adore, and I was able to promote this book over on my Instagram, and I took such a beautiful photo of it, so I will link it down below if you want to follow me over there. But this is another novel from Rick Riordan Presents, one of my favorite imprints, and I am just so happy that I have this in my hands. 16 years ago, our main character's homeland disappeared into the sea, and he is now living in Brooklyn, where he wants to get the attention of one of his favorite artists. And one day Mateo is at a celebration with his community when the evil that sunk his island returns and finally catches up with them, and it changes Mateo's life forever. So I am so excited to have this book in my hands, and I am so happy for Daniel Jose Older for writing yet another amazing novel, because I know I'm going to love it. So those are all the books that I recently acquired in the beginning of 2022. I know I usually have book hauls few and far in between, but these are some books that I'm genuinely so excited for. Let me know if you have read any of them. Let me know what you think of them. Let me know if any of these books are also on your TBR. And if you want to join my Discord server, it will be linked down below, along with all my social media channels. If you have made it this far in the video, leave a coffee emoji down below. I hope you have a wonderful day, and thank you so much for spending your time with me. Bye!